Welcome back to Fold in the Cheese. It's your boy Kate Troll on the mic today, and I am joined in a throwback fashion by the Dwight Schrute to my Jim Halpert.
Question: what kind of bear is best?
That's a ridiculous question.
False. Black bear.
Well, that's debatable. There are basically two schools of thought.
Fact: bears eat beets.
Oh.
Bears. Beets. Battlestar Gallactica.
Bears do not. What is going on? What are you doing?
Ethan Gelfand, what is happening, E?
I was looking for my stapler to get my files in order, and it was in Jell-O, you son of a gun. So, yes.
That's right. It
How we
was.
doing, man?
I've been practicing my flunkerton personally.
Yes.
Just walking around the house in these reams of paper.
So, okay, obviously we know how all of our devices listen to us and then, give us ads and feed it. Anyway, for a while, my Facebook feed was getting lit up by like office videos for no reason. I was like, you know what? I'm here for it though. It's cool.
Sure.
You and I must have been talking about it or something. And they showed and so it shows like a lot of bloopers and like behind the scenes. They showed a deleted cold open that never aired, and it was spectacular. It was obviously it was a prank on Dwight, and it was a play off of The Matrix. And so it was literally, I think, like a 6 to 8 minute cold open of him kind of going through the Matrix. And there was a couple cats that went by, and he got the phone call basically saying that, he could come, and they had agents coming in, and my God, like it was so good. And so it ends, the final scene is, Hank, the security guard.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, are you Morpheus? No, I'm Dorpheus, Morpheus's brother. And so like Dwight was all about it. And so he offers Dwight the red or the blue pills, take the red pill and, have your mind woken up, get out of the Matrix, or take the blue pill and just go back to your normal life. And so without hesitation, Dwight takes the blue pill and wait, what? And so you hear Hank is on like his earpiece. He took the blue pill. Why did he take the blue pill? I hope that's safe to consume. And so you see Jim in like the control room, and it just runs out of there. It's just so good.
I hope that's safe to consume. I feel like I might have seen that myself now that you mention it, because like I remember thinking like that would be so spectacular. Why did they not ever do that? I mean, maybe they were all spectacular, but that one in particular would be a lot of fun.
And I mean, of course, just like little plays. So, the scene in the Matrix where the one cat goes by and then they see the second cat's like, oh, deja vu. So, they had cats run by his office. And so Pam was like, do you know how hard it was to train the cat? And then we had to get it through the vent so he couldn't see it. Then they run back to it again. And so Jim's like, why didn't you just use 2 cats? Like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
That's spectacular.
Probably the goat. So good, like
the goat of shows.
I mean, do you think it would still apply today? Right? I mean, it wasn't off the air like that long ago. What, like 5-7 years? Is that long?
I think it's been longer than that even. But yeah, I think it's still hilarious no matter what. I think it's still hilarious. I'm wanting to know when I can get my kids into it. That's what she said stuff is probably a little racy, obviously, but if you don't get it, then I don't know that it would be that funny.
Yeah.
Then again, my kids would go around saying that's what she said all the time, and that would get them in trouble somewhere.
Now, would you be laughing, or would you be getting them in trouble?
we always praise when they are funny. When they do funny things, we always give them praise because we feel like that's a skill that will get them far in life.
Yes.
We will let them know if it's like inappropriate, of course, but if they use something in the right way, in the right timing, we're never like mad at them.
It's funny you say timing because like my kids can sometimes be pretty funny, but however, and I'm going to steal this line from a comedian, they haven't honed their funny. And so like Addison, she'll accidentally stumble upon a joke and it'll be pretty funny. And I'll be legitimately laughing, and so will Kirsten. But then she'll keep trying to go with it. And it's like, oh, you just murdered it. The timing, you got to know your audience, do the Costanza, be like, all right, that's it for me.
That's it. Leave it on a high note. You got to teach them to leave on a high note. That's true. Kids are prone to, if you give them praise for that, obviously they're going to keep saying it all the time as well. So then they'll use it and you're just like, okay, it's not as funny if you do it like every single day,
But it's not even every single day. Like I'd be okay with like every other day or every single day, but not just continuing to do it in that moment for 10 more times.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny the first time. Maybe the second time if you give it a little break. Then when it's like 6 times in a row, it gets bad. Jamie was making my son's favorite dinner the other night, and he's upstairs.
Can I guess what it is? I have a guess. Can I guess what it is?
Oh, you can guess what it is.
Is it pesto?
It's pesto. She's making the pesto, her famous pesto. And he's upstairs, and it's like you can already start to smell the basil. I mean, it fills the house immediately. He starts to smell it, and he's just like, "Is the food ready yet?" And like, I guess we didn't really respond. He goes, "Mom, the meatloaf."
He actually said,
From
"Mom, the
upstairs."
meatloaf?
He said, "Mom, the meatloaf." And it was just like,
Yes.
he's not seen the movie, obviously, but he's probably seen that scene before.
He hasn't seen that movie? Come on.
He has not seen that movie yet. But perfect timing, perfect usage, spectacular.
Well played, Miles. I'll take that.
And our daughter started to say, "You're killing me, Smalls," all the time, and she does it like appropriately. Also, really funny.
Yes, that is true. I think we got our kids on your. I actually know which one they actually use pretty well. Is we have mentioned on this podcast is so Ember, our dog. We made the dumb mistake of giving him human food early on in life. So now, whenever we're sitting at the dinner table, he's just looking at me or any of the kids and trying to get up, trying to eat it. So he'll literally just be staring at me like this, or he'll be staring at the kids. So many times I've told him, "Stop staring at me. So, stop looking at me, Swan." And so now the kids use it now too, and they use it appropriately. Like,
nice.
Respect. And then
not much better.
Shampoo is better.
Yeah. Miles, he loves that scene as well. He's seen that one before. He absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
Stop looking at me, Swan. They're funny. They're funny little creatures.
Yes, they are little creatures, though. My gosh.
They are gremlins as well. Yeah. For sure. Mine are, at least. Yours are better behaved than mine, but they're gremlins. They're all gremlins.
Behind the scenes. We'll see.
Behind the scenes. So we got a lot of recaps today. We've got some injury news to cover today. Unfortunately, we're going to get to the game recaps. We've got some waivers for you guys. If you're listening, get your pencils out. Got some waivers for you. We got a do it update. Do it. We got some on campus.
On campus for Kemper.
And then we're going to get to the Yahoo League recap of our long-standing league as well. Got a lot to pack in here. What do you say we just jump in?
Let's do it.
Injury news. I think the first thing we should talk about is probably the Tua injury.
We should talk about that first, even though it's not on our list first.
But that is catching all the news right now. And God, I hope that man is okay for life in general. It's been a saga. Feel awful for him, his family. He should not be playing football right now.
It was pretty bad, the fact that, during that Bills game, he should not have gone back in. Obviously, they're coming out later, the reports that they fired their consultant on neuroscience. That was it. Brain matters.
Independent neurological consultant, unaffiliated. Yes.
Thank you.
UNC.
For big words that you use.
Those are employees by the players union. They're not even that's not a Miami employees. They're supposed to be completely independent. But I guess that person cut
made a lot of mistakes.
Made a lot of mistakes. And anyway. So I do see if you look back at the footage of him stumbling in the Bills game, other than him grabbing his head, which is an obvious dude, I'm not right up here. It did look like his back just totally spasmed and he fell. Just the way he was kind of walking, just went, But then he was grabbing his head
But even so, even if your back is causing you to fall down, you think that's a great reason to go back into a game because you never get hit in your back.
I do agree.
But then that hit in the wait, who did they just play?
The Bengals game.
Yeah.
He just got spun around and just thrown straight on the ground, and he didn't brace his head at all, and just ugh.
And then just to see him, what they called this, the fencing position or whatever,
or posturing,
up and all that. Yikes, that's scary. So obviously he's out for week 5. He should be out. Again, hashtag not a doctor, but how do you come back any more than 4 weeks, any sooner than 4 weeks?
I don't know. I don't know how this stuff heals. I don't know what needs to happen in your brain for you to be back to baseline. They have these neurological tests, but they're all memory or speed of processing or finger touching and stuff. Is that the only way they know that your brain is fully healed? I just feel like there's swelling and stuff. You got to take it easy on that.
The only experience I have in that is when I was working in collegiate basketball. Before the season started, they always had, the baseline concussion test that obviously when you're fully healthy, you take this test and you see that creates your baseline. And so after you have a concussion or concussion-like symptoms, you then have to pass this test to see that if you meet that baseline. That's the only thing I know, the experience I've seen. And we actually had a player who had to sit for multiple weeks because she couldn't get past that baseline test. So, I mean, obviously that's at its most basic form. And just to see him on the field like that, yikes! You don't know when that cannot be a quick recovery. The brain,
it didn't look good, man. It was scary. It just freaks me out seeing them with that fencing stuff. It really freaks me out.
Yeah.
Don't go look it up. It's terrifying. Sidebar though, does it seem like to you? I feel like when basketball players get concussions, they're out for like months, and then NFL players, it's like maybe they miss a week. I don't know what the correlation is there. Like, I have no idea if that's true or not. But I feel like I remember Wake losing a basketball player for like most of the season because of a concussion.
And it's wild because it's literally like they have to sit in a dark room. They have to, concussions can be pretty long lasting and scary and really take a toll on you. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move along here. I'm going to talk about Javonte Williams for a minute because I drafted Javonte Williams. I was really high on Javonte Williams. He's got a torn ACL. He's got some issues with, I think, his LCL as well. Thank you for giving me the full spotlight here. I'd like to say a few words about our dearly departed Javonte Williams. Now, his knee is toast, so he's done for the year. I hate to see this because
I just thought you
really
wanted this time. I was just going to give you the moment of that you.
I appreciate that.
This was your guy. That.
It was my guy. So he's gone, done for the year. And Melvin Gordon is the obvious, like, steps right in and takes over the role. He's been kind of like sort of on his way out, though, like kind of like sunsetting.
Well, I was just going to say, how many times has he fumbled the ball already this year? It's like, is he our guy right now?
That's a problem. So they've got this guy, Mike Boone, who was filling in while Javonte was out this game. Then they just went and signed Latavius Murray from the practice squad of the Saints, who actually was playing for the Saints this past week.
He just played last week.
He just played, and he actually played pretty well. Like, so there's a chance he's going to steal work too. So, it sucks. I'm hopeful that Melvin Gordon's just like the guy because on the team that I was able to draft Javonte, I got Melvin as well, but the fumbles had me worried.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, you can't be doing that. I mean, that's 4 fumbles I think already this year in 4 games.
Ugh, that's not good.
Yeah.
So. We'll get to the waivers on some potential pickups there, but anyway. By the way, with the Tua stuff, Teddy Bridgewater stepped in and actually looked really competent. Totally decent. He's got all the weapons there. Would be worth a flyer.
I think he's a Jacoby Brissett plus. Like, I think he was a starter. He had that huge year in New Orleans when Breeze was out. 7-0, I think, as a starter. I mean, he was totally competent. He was even more than competent in Minnesota before he had that horrific knee injury. I mean, he's a good quarterback. So, I mean, he's been decent everywhere
he's been. Yeah, I agree. Jonathan Taylor had a scare. He had an ankle injury against the Titans, left the game.
Sorry,
but it sounds like he avoided the dreaded high ankle sprain. Now he's kind of day to day. He may miss a week, but it doesn't look like he's going to miss 4 to 6, which is good. Not a great backup situation there. They've got this kid Deion Jackson, who's he's from Duke, so he sucks. He's from Duke. Obviously, Hines would be the other guy.
Yeah.
I was surprised by this. Cordero Patterson was placed on IR. Like I didn't know that he got injured during the game. I guess he had a knee injury before the game, and he still played. He carried the ball 10 times.
And he's been tearing it up. That sucks for them, especially fantasy owners. I mean, not sure whether or not he was going to step right in from what he did last season, and he certainly did, and then some. So that's tough. But yeah, it was just weird that he did have these 9-10 carries, especially after this other injury. But whatever.
Yeah. He's out for at least 4 weeks now on IR officially.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to see him. Traylon Burks got carted off for the Titans game as well. It sounds like it's a turf toe issue, which can linger all season, but can also be just like a 1 week absence and then you're back and it's pain management and it's doesn't sound fun. But I know you probably weren't like starting him right now, but a lot of people were stashing him and thinking as he gets more comfortable in the NFL, he's a sleeper for like late season. Right. I don't know. This bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it's and this is a terrible comparison, but it's kind of like the N'Keal Harry on the Patriots, who's once again it's a first round wide receiver, one of the top 3 drafted. He had injury issues to start his career, and never was able to get on track. So you really hope it's not, rookie wide receivers, unless you're a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, where you make that instant impact, where you get still trying to learn the offense and really get the rhythm. It's tough. If you miss any time, that just sets you so far back. It's hard. It's hard to come back.
Yeah, the speed of the game is so different. I think it's a big thing. Like, you can learn the playbook and all that. That's good. You can do that while you're not playing, but getting in sync with your quarterback stuff. The Bills, the wide receiver room in the Bills is getting shaken up a little bit. So Jamison Crowder left. He broke his ankle. He's done for the season. Isaiah McKenzie got a concussion, and so he could miss this next week. And then this Khalil Shakir, who's a rookie, came in. They've been trying to move him around the entire formation, but he's honestly an interesting player, because if he fills in for that slot role that Crowder and McKenzie were both in, he could start immediately if McKenzie misses. He's getting reps anyway. They like him. I don't know. He's a name to keep on your radar for sure. And I think maybe even worth a stash. Yeah. Depending on what happens with McKenzie. I like McKenzie. I think he could do really well, especially if he doesn't have competition in the slot. But if he has to miss a week, then you open the door for some rookie to come in here and take a job. So
watch out.
That's what happens. Speaking of rookies taking your job, Kenny Pickett came in and took Mitch Trubisky's job. Probably not giving that one back. I thought Pickett looked good. I mean, he had 3 picks, which sounds terrible. One of them was a Hail Mary, doesn't really count at the end of the game, and he got the ball 60 yards in the air. I mean, he threw it really well. The other one bounced off a guy's hands, I think off of Deontay's hands. He had a bad drop, and it got picked. So, like, one of them's on him, but he only had 3 incompletions. They all went for picks. Otherwise, 10 for 10.
I was going to say, all completions.
He ran in 2 touchdowns as well. They were short yardage kind of things, but I'm kind of excited to see what he can do. I really am. I think he's legit.
I don't know. I'm so sour on him. I don't like Kenny Pickett just because of his fake slide. So I know.
I don't like him. I think he's.
You just said you're excited by him.
I'm still very salty about the slide, and have all the text message backup to show how pissed I was at that moment.
At that moment, yes.
I think he could be good.
The one interesting thing, and we'll talk about this in waivers, is who he targeted, because you have a Deontay Johnson, who we always talk about is Mr. Consistent, 8 to 10 targets, 6 to 7 catches every game. He only got targeted 6 times, only caught 1 or 2 passes. So we'll talk about it in waivers, but spoiler alert, it was not Deontay who got targeted. So we'll talk about that later.
Yep, that's right. When this happens, and we'll talk about this later too, but when a new quarterback comes in, they've got their guys. They tend to have their guys. And a lot of times it's like backup quarterback has got like 3rd and 4th receivers because they have more chemistry together from the practice team and stuff. But sometimes it's different. Sometimes it's a different story.
Yeah.
Other quarterback situation, obviously Mac Jones is going to be out for a few weeks. Brian Hoyer gets knocked out of this game. Bailey Zappi comes in.
Bailey Zapp.
Let's go, Bailey Zapp. Come on.
Gotta get my jersey. That's a sweet jersey.
I was stoked to see him in there. He was slinging it. He did throw a touchdown, which is pretty sweet.
Got Devontae Parker involved, got that touchdown. So, I mean, hey, I think I saw some headline in the Boston papers that like this is a rebuilding team right now, which is unfortunate. You don't want to see it, but we really are. We did not really get any better in the offseason. And so this is a rebuilding team. And, heck, challenge Mac. See what you can do, Bailey. Just go out there and fling it. I mean, I was honestly surprised, and we'll talk about this in the Packers game, but he looked good. We shouldn't have been in that game, but we were. And, hey, he's playing with borrowed money, so he's playing with house money. Just go.
Yeah, I told you that earlier. I said, why you even putting Brian Hoyer in there?
Yeah.
You know what you got with Brian Hoyer, and it's fine. But
fine.
What do you have with Bailey Zapp? We don't know. This is a kid who threw for like 6,000 yards last year. I mean, like something insane.
I know we're doing the
60 touchdowns, whatever.
I know we're doing the office, but when you said like that's fine, it made me think of Roy Kent when talking about Rebecca. It's like, he's fine, but you don't want fine. Anyway, it's actually a very sweet moment, but we won't.
It was a really sweet moment for Roy. All these layers with Roy Kent.
He's an onion, man. He's such an onion.
Boy. All right. So I just to throw my own injury issues real quick in here. Amon-Ra, Zay Jones, and Alvin Kamara, like last minute inactives, which I was not expecting. Okay. Amon-Ra
maybe a little.
Amon-Ra, we talked about this last time. Like he cropped up with an injury. We knew he had the ankle, but like he was practicing. We're kind of like, okay, it seems like he's going to play through. He played through it last week. So that annoyed me. So I picked up Zay Jones to start him, and all of a sudden he just didn't play. I was like, oh, cool. So I had to drop him. And then Kamara didn't play either, which I expected him back this week. And I was like, my team was in shambles this week. And we'll get to that later, but not good. Michael Thomas didn't play. James Winston didn't play. We saw the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton out there in London. They love him in London.
Man. He was good.
They love the redheads in London. There's an Irishman. Yeah.
Speaking of a redhead, though, Cooper Rush for those Cowboys. Watch out for that QB controversy. Dak talking about he might be coming back in a week or two. May not have a job to come back to, I'm saying.
He wants to come back this week against the Rams. And Jerry Jones has since backed him as their quarterback after he said we should have a competition. Whoever wins games should be quarterback. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Brian Robinson is scheduled, or I guess he's available to come back this week. He was on a 4-week IR thing. I'm excited about this because I have him on my IR, and I would love to see what he could do. The Commanders are garbage, and I don't know.
Bad.
Maybe they want to try him out because they're garbage, and they're like, why not see what we got here? Antonio Gibson is not lighting the world on fire, so could be a nice shot in the arm. Who knows?
Yeah.
Godwin came back, and he played in the night game for the Bucs, and I think he looked pretty good. I mean, he was a little rusty, but he looked pretty good.
But then he got hurt again. Did you watch it?
He got hurt it was like his shoulder or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like shoulder, neck, back thing. I was like, oh God, it's just like one of these things. Why? But yeah, right. He looked fine. You know, he got six or seven catches, 70-ish yards, so it's solid. But yeah,
I think because his legs did not get injured, I think you're fine throwing him back out there next week, ready to start. I benched him this week, should have started him, but I think I'm good to start him next week.
Yeah,
moving forward, and hopefully he's clear of these injury issues and he's good to go. We'll see. Sure. I read that Sam Darnold is not close to returning to play. Didn't know he was injured. Didn't know he had an injury.
He was on the IR, yes.
But apparently some people were like kind of bummed to hear that because Baker is playing so poorly. There were kind of some whispers of maybe Darnold should get back in there.
Maybe we want this guy back, but anyway.
And did you see that Dookie Metcalf got carted off the field for an emergency poop?
DK Metcalf on the cart being taken from the field moments ago. 7 catches in the game, 149 yards.
Wouldn't you love that? Can you imagine if that was in like real life too? People was like, oh, emergency poop. Come get me. Gotta go.
I need the cart. I need the
cart. Please. Just like one of those motorized in like the grocery store. Gotta take that emergency poop. Gotta go, guys. I'm out.
Give me. We've all been there, but I think he said really the clinch walk wouldn't have cut it. It's like I could not have clinch walked all the way there, and it's like
you got to stay seated though. It's not going to come when you're sitting down. It's blocked.
Yeah, understand. So that is the majority of the injuries around the league. It's a lot of stuff to get through there.
That is the majority of injuries. That's a lot of injuries.
It's a lot, man.
Yeah.
Let's go through some recaps of the games, shall we?
Yeah. Let's breeze through these bad boys. So start on Thursday night. Obviously, we had the Dolphins and Bengals. Tua, we already talked about, but Bengals kind of again showing the team that we thought they were going to be. T. Higgins blew up, so that was great for him. Had 9 targets, obviously with these 7 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's looking great. He's looking really good. Good for you. Good on you on the do it bet board. Jamar Chase, I think, is being. This was kind of what I was just a little nervous about coming into the season because last year he was the big surprise and he was the big play guy. So he was like the 3 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown or so. And so now, just like if he doesn't have those big plays, he's kind of getting shut out a little bit. So he had 6 targets, but once again, it's 4 catches, 81 yards, kind of going back into that big play.
That's what he did last year, all year.
Right. So you want to see a little more consistency on him. You want to see just more of like maybe the 6 of the 7 catches, but it just could be the attention he's getting. But he's fine. But for where people are drafting me in the first round, you want to see a little bit more. But
I took him in the first round too in one of my leagues. I think he's Tyreek Hill, man. I think they just got to use him like that.
Yeah,
he's electric with the ball in his hand. He can catch everything. So I just don't know why they don't target him more on shorter routes. Everything he gets is like 20 yards. You're kind of like, that's great. Great that you can break it open. And they have T. Higgins for shorter stuff too. But man, I would have both of those guys just crossing all day and just whoever's got it.
And then speaking of Tyreek, obviously they targeted him every time. So he had 10 for 160. So a great game for him. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Teddy in there. Again, as we've talked about, when these backup QBs come in, I don't see why you don't just force feed your guy. So I think granted, you still have 2 guys in Jalen Waddle, but I think that really the focus is going to be on Tyreek. So it'll be interesting to see with Teddy in there.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing from this game was that Raheem Mostert it seems to be the number one guy in the backfield. Yeah. We thought it was going to be Chase Edmonds coming into the season. All the buzz was about Chase Edmonds. And the first game, it was Chase Edmonds. And the last 2 games or 3 games, it's been Raheem Mostert. So I'm excited about that as a fan of his.
2-game streak with a touchdown, Chase is. Granted, that's literally all his fantasy points, but that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So he had the dominated the backfield and carries. But yeah, Bengals took care of business. They've turned things around. I think they're going to be fine going forward.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
My next game is Titans-Colts game because they know I'm a Titans fan. So we'll hit that one real quick. Titans took care of business in Indianapolis. Big win. Needed that one. Derrick Henry is the man. We know that. Robert Woods caught a touchdown here too. So I was excited to see that. That's, I think, his second week in a row now. So he's kind of getting some chemistry with Tannehill. Burks went out with the injury. The backups there are like Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook-Akina, 3 tight ends you never heard of. It's kind of pretty desperate after that. So you want Derrick Henry, you can flex Robert Woods. Tannehill's a matchup dependent quarterback.
Ooh, yeah, that's something. Yeah, I was happy to see Derrick Henry just because I have him in my neighborhood league, so really need him to do well. So it's good to see him kind of get back to form and just kind of, I guess, a little more spreading out. And the Colts, man, just such a Jekyll and Hyde team. Who are you going to get? You never know. So that division, totally up for grabs.
It is wide open. I do think it's Jacksonville's to lose, but the Titans seem to be rounding into form a little bit, so maybe we still got a chance. We'll see.
It's encouraging for you, my man.
It is encouraging. How about the Vikings and Saints, the London game? This was
Jolly old London.
Foggy London town.
Yes. Dalvin was fine. It wasn't the same bionic arm game that he had from last year with his shoulder brace that you wanted to see, but he's fine. At least he's out there. He was healthy and didn't get banged up, which is, again, good to see. I wish you would see him more in the passing game. That's kind of what's been missing this season. Because he's great catching out the backfield. That's kind of one of his big things, that dual threat. But when you got Justin Jefferson doing Justin Jefferson things, I guess that's all right. And I mean, he's taking a touchdown from you, rushing it in.
Right. Well, then Madison vultured a receiving touchdown as well. He caught a little wheel route coming out of the backfield. And I was like, they look the same too on the field. So you're like, oh, there's Dalvin. Oh, nope, that's not Dalvin. So that was kind of frustrating. But yeah, I agree. The Saints.
I don't think we can't even talk about the Saints. This was just a mash unit. Again, all those injuries out there. Again, Latavius Murray isn't even on the team anymore. He had a touchdown of 57 yards. But Chris Olave, we talked about it. This would be his time to shine. And for the most part, he had the most targets, 4 catches, 67 yards and a touchdown. So he's a legit scoring threat. Yeah,
I think the concern with him, like I pumped him into our Run Your Pool fantasy lineup. And I was excited about that until I found out that Jameis wasn't going to play because Dalton doesn't take as many shots down the field. And so Olave's game is a deep threat game. And, we know Jameis is a YOLO bomber, so he'll throw it to anybody deep down the field. But Olave did make a really nice, it was like a 40-yard catch toward the end of the game to try and get them into field goal position. This one was wild. Did you see how this ended? This was a double doinker.
No. This was absolutely wild. Hits the side and then hits the side of the goalpost, bottom and out.
So Will Lutz had already kicked Will Lutz had already kicked like a 60-yard field goal, and the Vikings came right back down and kicked a field goal with no time. But then Olave makes this 40-yard catch in the middle of the field, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're going to get back into field goal position. And they did, and he kicked it, and it was like. I mean, you're inches away from that going in.
Watching the replays, I don't understand the physics of how it didn't go in. Like how it hit the side crossbar and then the bottom bar. It should have just fell this way, but somehow it jointed back out. So
it is an oblong ball, so the bouncing is difficult to predict. And then the goalposts are rounded too. And so if you hit the wrong side of the cone of the goalpost, it was wild, pretty wild. I would have loved to have seen that go to overtime because I needed more from Dalvin in my matchup. But anyway,
sure.
How about the Browns and Falcons? I told you, I was like, the Falcons have been hanging tough in these games. I'm going to go with the Browns. I think it's a better team, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Falcons win this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Falcon, this is why I loved them all last year, man. They're just scrappy. They'll figure out ways to win ugly. Because Mariota looked gross. But I mean, the rushing game, they had 202 rushing yards, and that was even with Cordarrelle being limited. But and this is what's so frustrating about the Browns, because all of a sudden you're kind of on this Brown hype train. Like, they're actually okay. I played Amari Cooper, 1 catch. So it just shows the inconsistency. It's tough for both of these teams. And but once again, the one fantasy thing you can take away is Nick Chubb is once again 120 yards, touchdown. That's what he's going to do. I didn't think he was going to be as solid this year, but he's just showing I'm going to do my thing, and he will continue to do it.
We talked about at the beginning of the year when we did our rankings and everything. We're like, I just have trouble getting on board with a guy who doesn't catch any passes. I'm like, granted, he does get 20 for 100 and touchdown every game. And I mean, it's like no joke. Every single game.
Every game.
It's wild.
Just saying.
It's just wild.
I mean, raise your hand.
It's not that different from Derrick Henry, honestly.
Yeah. Well, raise your hand if you thought at this point in the season, running backs RB1 and 2 would be Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley. Who had that?
And then Jamal Williams, probably 3. Didn't have that either. Okay, so how about the Commanders and the Cowboys game here? This one went as I expected it would. You picked the Commanders to win this game.
Yeah, I think I was. Yeah, we won't go there.
you were hoping for a good Wentz game. You did. I
was hoping for wild Wentz and wild Wentz, but it was not that. And yeah, I mean, Cooper Rush, man. That's what I'm saying. QB controversy. Watch out. And once again, who'd he go to? CeeDee Lamb. This is what I'm saying. They're finally getting smart, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when Dak comes back. It's like, oh, maybe this was a good idea to just continue to give it to this guy.
It's weird because, like, I don't think anyone would tell you that he's a better quarterback than Dak. But truthfully, if it's working for whatever reason, it's tough to go against it. Now, they've had some lighter matchups during this little 3-week stretch. So beating the Giants and beating the Commanders is not that impressive to me. But if he can do it against a real opponent like the Rams this week, who didn't look good in Monday Night Football, but if he can do it against the Rams, that would be kind of a different story. It's a much better defense, certainly.
And
I thought Michael Gallup got in the end zone. This was good. He was his first action back, kind of limited, didn't do a whole lot, but it was good to see him back. Jalen Tolbert was a healthy scratch, so I just felt confident in Gallup.
And on the opposite side of the ball, like the Commanders, there's just no viable, consistent fantasy option. There just really isn't, because obviously Antonio Gibson's not doing anything. We'll see what happens with Brian Robinson. Wentz is obviously way too up and down. You can't even trust Terry McLaurin or anything like that just because of that. And then, Jahan Dotson once again got in the end zone, but he's a little limited with his injury. But again, the consistency isn't there. So I just do not feel confident putting any commander in a fantasy lineup, to be honest.
Yeah, Curtis Samuel was the only guy I was ever starting, and I have been starting him. He didn't get quite as much action as he usually does. He didn't run the ball at all this game, which is the first time this year. So that was a little disappointing, but he was still targeted pretty heavily. I think he's still probably at least a flex consideration in a deeper league in particular like ours.
But let's talk about this more exciting game. Talk about the Lions and the Seahawks. My goodness.
Yo, this was wild. This was straight wild, man. I mean, it looked like the Lions, who were missing Amon-Ra and DeAndre Swift. You're like, I don't know who they're going to throw it to. I feel so dumb. I should have gone with this. I was like, this has got to be a Hawkinson game because he's the only target. But then I thought, well, then he's the only one they have to take away. So they'll just I remember last year I had him on my team, and when he was the only healthy guy, people just bracket coverage him, and he couldn't do anything.
Couldn't do it. This is a different Lions offense, man. This is a different
Apparently, the dude went ballistic. 40-something points. 8 for 179 and 2 touchdowns. Good grief.
I'm just happy I started Jared Goff. My gosh, 378, 4 touchdowns. Super happy about that. And then, as we talked about, in the absence of DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams came right in, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what we thought he could do, and he did. I don't know what to think of this game just because of the ridiculous score, 48-45. I mean, who thought the Seahawks could put up that many points with this team? So, it was basically just no defense, a fun offensive game but once again, this is just so frustrating about the Lions. And you think they're making that next step. You think they're like, okay, they're legitimate. They have a great offense. If they can just put some things together, tie up a few loose ends. No, they can't. It's just the defense is so terrible, and it's starting to look at play calling and stuff like that. So it's incredibly frustrating. Obviously, you love to see what they're doing on offense, but it's just incredibly frustrating as a team of what they're doing.
I don't get it either, man. I mean, they've got a good corner in Okuda. They've got Aiden Hutchinson now is a stud, but he's had kind of mixed up and down so far rookie year. Rodrigo, the darling from Hard Knocks, 11 tackles, 1 for loss, hit a quarterback. I mean, they've got some weapons. They've got some pieces on that defense. They just can't stop anything overall. Like, I don't know if they've got to continue to build depth at the defense. That's the problem, clearly. But Rashad Penny went off in this game. Yeah. If you learn anything, it's start a running back against the Lions.
Yeah, no kidding. Rashad Penny thought it was week 15 , so that's when he usually goes off.
Yeah, I've never seen him this early in the season. What's he doing? So yeah, that game was wild. On a not wild offensive game, we had the Bears and the Giants here. Saquon went off, right? I mean,
Saquon's back, man. I think that's the biggest takeaway from
and he looks the part,
Yeah.
Although
Daniel Jones stole all his touchdowns, that's some crap. But it'll be interesting because Daniel Jones is now hurt. His ankle's out.
Daniel Jones is hurt. Tyrod got concussed on a bad hit. I mean, like, I don't even know who the third quarterback is.
I couldn't tell you. But
yeah, because then Daniel Jones came back in after Tyrod went out because I don't think they had another one active.
That's good. So basically, Saquon is literally the offense, and he's the only viable fantasy option just because you're not taking any of their wide receivers. And on the opposite side, Chicago, I mean, Fields once again had a not great game. Khalil Herbert's clearly the guy, but Montgomery might be coming back. We'll see how their backfield's going to be. And then just, probably the only potential viable option is Darnell Mooney, but even that's such a streakiness because of Justin Fields. So it's kind of like the Commanders. You can't really trust anybody on that team.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about Justin Fields other than I guess I was just wrong. I don't know. I keep wanting to say I still believe in his talent, but he's showing absolutely nothing. So I don't know. Jaguars Eagles. This was the game we hoped it would be. Really, I mean, I think the Jags really hung in there. They got out to an early lead. They were up 14-0 in the first quarter. Eagles came storming back with 20 points in the second, and the Eagles defense is for real.
Eagles defense.
The Jaguars defense is not bad either, actually.
Josh Allen, watch out for him.
Watch out. Yeah, so I mean, this was a tight game. The Eagles did end up winning, still the only undefeated team in the league. Jalen Hurts going to get his. Always, Miles Sanders continues to look really good. This is kind of shocking. The Jaguars, no one had a good statistic day for them, so nothing to take away here fantasy-wise, but they hung in there, and this is going to be the toughest match for Trevor Lawrence this season. I think he's going to have a bright future this year. I mean, this not even like in years to come. I think this year is going to be a good year for him.
Yep.
How about the Jets Steelers? Zach Wilson returning to action, taking on Kenny Pickett in the second half. What were your takeaways this game? We talked about some with the Steelers earlier.
Right. I mean, once again, so Zach, he came in, he did okay. Had 2 interceptions, only 50% completion percentage, but he was showing he could do stuff and he could kind of get something done. He could move it up and down the field. It's tough. I think this was finally where you saw Breece Hall. I mean, Michael Carter, 9 carries for 15, and Breece Hall had 17 for 66 in that score. So maybe this is the Breece Hall coming out party, and it just could be kind of a change of the guard, having Zach Wilson in there, kind of reshaping the offense. I don't know. Corey Davis finally reappeared. And the one thing that's concerning for me is Elijah Moore. I really expected more of him. We just haven't. I actually didn't mean to, but I'll take it. But it's still lame. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on him?
I actually picked up Corey Davis and played him in our Yahoo league. And the main reason was I remember that Zach Wilson had a thing for Corey Davis last year. That was his go-to target, and he made him relevant. And while he did do some good things with Elijah Moore, a lot of that came from Mike White and Joe Flacco. So I think this is one of those situations we talked about earlier where backup quarterback or rookie quarterback or the guy who was supposed to start but wasn't starting or whatever comes in and he's got his guy. I think his guy's Corey Davis. Okay. Weirdly enough. So you saw Garrett Wilson do not much anything. And I'm worried about that with Garrett Wilson the rest of the season because Flacco really made him a thing, and he should be a thing. He's probably the best talent-wise receiver they have.
Yeah.
I think Elijah Moore is a stud too. But
so I guess that was Mike White's guy. That was Mike White's guy. So
that's what I was saying. I mean, Mike White and Flacco last year. And so he'll have some good games with Zach Wilson, but I really think Corey Davis is legit with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked him up at least. I think Wilson came out pretty rusty, but then he did engineer that game-winning drive and looked the part at the end of the game. I think he's going to be all right this year. I really do.
Okay.
He'll have his picks, but I think he'll do more of that second half stuff. I think you're going to see him take a little bit of a step forward here. And then Kenny Pickett, we already talked about him. I think he's going to be. They got to start him going forward.
Yeah, true.
I'm more worried about Najee. I mean, I hope that Kenny Pickett can help open it up for him.
Hopefully. Yikes.
How about the Bills-Ravens game? This was a lower scoring game than I thought. I think we thought it was going to be a shootout. Yeah. The Bills have a good defense. The Ravens have led a lot of points through this year, but this came down to the wire, obviously.
But once again, you briefly just talked about the defense. It's just showing the Ravens cannot finish games. I mean, they had the huge lead against the Dolphins. They had a big lead against the Bills. They were up by 13 at least, and they can't finish it. So what is happening there? And it's kind of crazy. The Ravens have played the entire AFC East to start the season. All 4 of their games have been the AFC East. They played the Dolphins, Bills, the Patriots, and the Jets.
Oh, wow.
So they're done
just
with
knocking
the
all those out immediately.
Yep. They go 2-2, surprisingly. You would think it would be a 3-1, but anyway, they should be 4-0. They should have won both this and the Dolphins game, but
yeah,
I don't know. That's a little concerning. Lamar Jackson came back down to earth, but I mean, he's still going to get his. He's still a beast. J.K. Dobbins kind of busted out a little bit, kind of showing he's still relevant. Yeah, I mean, again, we both thought that there would be more scoring in this game, but it's still a good one, and it's probably 2 of the top teams in the AFC.
Yeah, the Ravens went for a 4th down at the goal line that they could have kicked a field goal to take a lead, and they ended up losing by a field goal. So I don't know. Lamar threw a pick on that play. It was ugly, but I don't know. They probably some coaching issues there. But the Bills were missing a few defenders too, which is why I think Dobbins had a better day. Bateman got injured in this one, but I think he's going to be okay. Not a ton to take away. Other way, we talked about the injuries. Otherwise,
exactly.
Chargers Texans. Austin Eckler came back.
Finally.
Hello, we've been missing you. Good to see you. Good to see you again, Austin. 3rd touchdown of the game. He had 3 of those.
Yeah,
it's nice to see. Dameon Pierce for the Texans blowing up, man. Look
at
you go.
I just like to say he was the only one to get carries. It's like, thank you. Just make him the only back. That's fine. When
you're averaging 9 yards a carry, I think you should be the only one getting carries.
Yep.
Mike Williams had a nice game here. It's good to see the Chargers get a good win here. And the Texans, we talked about this. Like, this is a home game for the Texans. The Texans are not a pushover this year.
They're not. They're scrappy. They're going to be
everybody tight. So this is a quality win for the Chargers.
Real quick back on the Chargers. I think I was 1 year off with Gerald Everett. Last year I was high on him because he was going to get his own show. And he was solid. He was fine. He was hurt a little bit, but he did all right. Now he's showing this is the Gerald Everett with his own show. So, and a good quarterback and stuff like that. So this is the one I was talking about.
Well, this is the one I did talk about, so I'm actually going to take credit for actually talking
because
about
you were riding my coattails from last year. Like, oh, yes.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I was thinking, who did Ethan get on last year? I'd like to get on them this year.
Yep. Just saying.
Matt Ryan, obviously, I'm back on him,
Right.
Threw for 350 and 2 touchdowns.
Just saying.
All right, Cardinals, Panthers. Hollywood Brown is the story here,
game?
I think. Can we skip it? Would love to. Hollywood Brown was good. Christian McCaffrey had a great game. It was good to see as well. Not running the ball a ton, but he finally got involved in the passing game. Thank goodness. 9 for 81 and a touchdown. That's the McCaffrey that you all drafted, that we all drafted, because I took him as well. But 8 for 27 on the ground, not that impressive. DJ Moore finally got 11 targets, 6 for 50. That was better to see.
He's still injured. Oh, wait, he's not injured.
Maybe he's not injured anymore. Maybe Baker's not injured anymore. I don't know. There was not a lot to talk about here otherwise, really.
No.
Moving on. Patriots, Packers. Moving on again.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disappointing for the Packers. I mean, I know they're 3-1, but it has been so ugly, and I don't think they can relax because there's problems. They should not be losing to the Patriots and going down to the wire in overtime against this Patriots team. Moving on.
I agree. Romeo Doubs caught another touchdown. He did have a bad drop as well, which I was worried about. Or he had a fumble. I was worried about that. I was like, oh, shoot. He fumbled like his first catch for like 1 yard fumble. And I was like, oh, great. He's never going to touch the ball again. Alan Lazard had 6 for 116. So I think Rodgers is comfortable with Lazard and Dobbs. Christian Watson got in the end zone as well. He ran it in on like a jet sweep. So the rookies are showing up a little bit, which is good. This team's still got to gel. But they're 3-1. I mean, shoot, you could have bigger problems than being 3-1 and still need to gel.
You could. Speaking of bigger problems,
the Broncos, who are 2-2 and still need to gel, and have now lost one of the running backs.
speaking of bigger problems, the Broncos have big problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is this more of this was the Raiders team we were hoping to see throughout the year, or is it more of that the Broncos are just not who we thought they were? I don't know.
I would say both. I mean, I would say both. This was the Raiders team you hoped to see, that you expected to see. Devontae Adams went 9 for 101 against a tough secondary, very tough secondary. Josh Jacobs ran all over them. This was stunning to me. And not because I don't think he's a good runner. He's a good, pure runner. He just, I don't know, he doesn't ever have those like blow up games, it doesn't seem like. Well, they did this week. 28 for 144 and 2 touchdowns. Golly. I'm getting smoked in this do it bet. 5 for 31.
Talk about that later. Well. Talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's a big game for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Russ looked pretty good. I mean, I think this was the week where you're like, hey, he's got to bounce back this week or else he is toast. And he did. He looked really solid. He had 3 touchdowns.
Really solid. You can't have pretty good. You can't then just still be losing by 9. I know Javonte Williams went down. That's a big blow. But at the same point, this still is not acceptable. Like for what you went out and basically saying, this is our Peyton Manning move. This is still a guy who can get it done. We're going all in on the Super Bowl. You can't be doing this. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, he played solid.
Oh, I totally agree.
But
I totally agree. Fantasy, he had a great game. And I'm excited about that because I have him on my fantasy team. I'm very nervous about what's going on with this team in general. You got too many weapons to be 2-2, too many weapons to give up 32 points to Raiders, too many weapons to only put up 23 against the Raiders. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Still on my radar, but startable in the right matchup at least, which is a good start.
Matchup.
At least a good start.
But it shouldn't be that contingency in the right matchup. It should just be
no, it shouldn't. But it's better than can't start him. Like I almost dropped him. And I said, I'm going to give him this week against the Raiders because you have to be able to put him up against the Raiders. And he got me 30 points in our league, which thank goodness.
Yeah.
But I was about to drop him.
All right. All right, let's go to more of an offensive game. We had the Chiefs and the Bucks, and the Chiefs were just kind of in control of this game from the get-go. Bucks were kind of hanging in. Brady finally kind of in the second half decided to show up a little bit, which is good. I have him in my neighborhood league, so that was fun to see. Yeah. But man, Leonard Fournette still just not doing anything. I know he had the reception for the touchdown, but 3 carries for -3 yards. I mean, granted, they only ran the ball 6 times, but
yeah. They got into a hole early, and they couldn't run the ball. I don't know. He had 7 for 57 in a touchdown in the receiving game. I love that. 3 carries for -3, not going to work season long. But then Rachaad White only had 3 carries too. They had 6 total rushes.
But he didn't get that touchdown.
True, but the 6 total rushes. I mean, that's not their normal game script. I was just stunned by how Kansas City got up on them early in a night game at home for Tampa.
Yeah,
I mean this got out of hand pretty quick, and you're kind of like, dang, I thought the Bucs defense. I expect this to be like an under type of game potentially. I thought the Bucs would put up a lot of points. I thought Kansas City would struggle to score. I thought the Bucs would be hyped. Nah, man, that defense lost this game big time.
Yeah, big time.
Because the Bucs put up 31. They put up enough for this defense normally to keep the other team in check. Patrick Mahomes was doing typical Patrick Mahomes stuff.
And I think he kind of put all those questions to bed about their offense and whether or not they could carry the load without Tyreek. He's like, nope, we're done with that. I mean, CEH is looking good and Panchero is looking good. I mean, they're fine. They're good. They're better than fine. They're solid.
Panchero. About them. Isaiah Pacheco's brother, Panchero.
I like Panchero.
I like Panchero. He's like a matador. All right. And then with the Rams and 49ers, Monday Night Football, I told you, man, these Rams, there's problems there, man. I don't know what's going on, but they do not look good as a team. They look like Cooper Kupp and a bunch of nobodies.
Right.
I mean, Tyler Higbee's putting up numbers. Statistically, he's the number 2 receiver.
Well, once again, actually, this week we didn't have as many crazy passing attempts as we did last week. But, Stafford had to throw it 48 times. And, yeah, when Kupp's getting 19 targets, Higbee's getting 14. I mean, then it drops down to the next highest one was Allen Robinson. Granted, not until the fourth quarter, had 6 targets. Not catches, targets. Anyway,
Allen Robinson was killing you. We'll talk about this in the Yahoo update, but that was funny. Yeah. So I think there's something wrong with LA. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they need a more reliable running game to open up the passing game. I don't know, but they don't look good.
They don't look good. And the 49ers are just getting it done. Fantasy-wise, it can be a little frustrating just because they're not really lighting it up, but Jeff Wilson's looking good. And, I mean, Debo. I mean, those are basically the only two names you need, and those are the only ones you can have. I mean, Kittle,
Yeah.
I don't think he's a top 5. I don't think he's a top 5 tight end anymore, which is unfortunate. He has the
Well,
talent.
this was his first game back, right?
Yeah, he has a talent, but he's in, as you just said, his first game back is week 4, and he's going to get hurt again.
True.
So that's
True.
just the frustrating thing. I've had him a couple of years, and it's just
That's
tough. So I don't think you can rely on him for top 5. So basically, the only names I'm really focusing on are Jeff Wilson right now and Debo.
Yeah. Yeah. Ayuk is someone that could flash in the right matchups, but it'd be a flex consideration.
Yeah. Whew. A lot of games.
A lot of games. Let's get to some waivers. Let's give you some waiver options here. So we talked about there's some season-long waivers that I would consider at the quarterback position in particular. So Kenny Pickett and Zach Wilson, 2 guys that you should think about because they're gonna be starting the rest of the year, barring injury, and they both have got that upside. They can both run the ball, they can both throw it effectively, and we don't know exactly what we're going to get just yet. So it's kind of exciting, especially if you're having trouble with a Russell Wilson type or someone like that, where you got injuries. If you need a bye week fill-in like this week. It's not a bye week for anybody yet, but if you need 1 week injury fill-in or something like that, Teddy Bridgewater, I think, would be the top guy as far as Tua's going to sit out this week for sure, maybe longer. Teddy will be steady. He'll be good. Okay.
Steady
Teddy. And then Bailey Zapp. Why not, man? Take a flyer. I mean, it depends on the matchup, but like, dude's a gunslinger. We know he will chuck it. He's got that Mike White in him. We know he will chuck it.
He will.
Why not? Running backs. So if for some reason Brian Robinson got dropped, if you don't have an IR slot and if he's sitting on the waiver wire right now, don't forget he should be coming back. And we think he could steal this running back job again. He had it to start the season. It was going to be his. So I'm excited to see what he could do. He's a better pure runner. He's a goal line back. He's a big dude. I'm interested to see what he can do.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, with Patterson going to IR, you've got Tyler Algier, who's a rookie out of BYU. Pretty good runner, but they have this kid Caleb Huntley as well.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to take the job. Don't forget Damian Williams has been injured, and it's his job if he comes back. So kind of a 3-headed monster there. In Denver, you got Mike Boone and Latavius Murray. It should be Melvin Gordon's job, but if he keeps fumbling, he's going to lose it. And Mike Boone got a decent amount of receiving work. Couldn't catch anything, so that's a problem. But Latavius Murray has got a proven track record of being average. He may end up being the guy. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then Isaiah Pacheco, we talked about, and Ponchero. He had 11 carries this week, and granted, it was positive game script for him. But I think he's at least, if nothing else, the insurance back to CEH, and CEH has looked good this year. But I think Pacheco has probably taken over Jerick McKinnon's number 2 role. Yeah, so I would look at him as well.
But look at the wide receivers. We were kind of touching upon this. So one of the big names is George Pickens. And, once again, with a new quarterback coming in, especially a young guy, he's going to find his guy. And right now it's looking like Pickens. I mean, he had over 10 targets, over 10 catches. So that could be the guy in Pittsburgh to look at. Deontay Johnson's going to be Mr. Consistency, but maybe not as much with Kenny. So Pickens will be a good pickup. And then we talked about a little bit in New York with Corey Davis. Could be Zach Wilson's guy. So could be get him on your radar. Look for or pick up for Corey. And then Josh Reynolds, with Amon-Ra kind of going down, not sure how his injury is going to play out. He was kind of the one that Goff was going for a little bit, obviously with behind TJ Hawkinson, but then Josh Reynolds. So, I mean, he's also a viable target. I mean, we don't know.
I think he's the number 3 in that offense, and maybe the running backs. I don't know, but I think he's actually going to be like a pretty steady, usable guy all year.
Fair. I think that's fair. And then what do you think about Isaiah McKenzie? You think worth it?
Yeah, I think worth the stash. I think he's got this job to himself unless Khalil Shakir comes in and takes it from him, which could happen. But I think McKenzie's been there in the system long enough. He's going to have first dibs. It's his job to lose, basically, All
right. And then tight ends, who you got? Will
Dissly, the Montana man. He's got 3 games with basically the same stat line, which is like 3 for 40 and a touchdown. 3 of the 4 games he's done that. So he's a red zone threat for sure. He's a big dude. He's getting enough volume to be viable at the tight end spot where
Gino's guy.
It's always a wasteland, right? So I like him. Obviously, if Gerald Everett's available in your league, which he is in one of my leagues.
He is?
He keeps balling out too. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's because the guy who owns Kyle Pitts will not convince himself or admit that he's just not working out.
This is not working out.
I'm not saying you got to drop him, but you should bench him until you see it.
True.
Personally.
All right. So there's some waiver targets we got for you looking ahead. But now, Kemper, do you know what it's time for? It is time for some on campus.
On campus.
On campus. So yes, you are in the hot seat today. Got to keep your streak alive. So I mean, it's hard to say what's hard, what's easy. I don't think it's just if you know it, if you're not. So here we go.
Gonna be the Argonauts.
I'm gonna start with tight ends. No, I'm not. I'm not going to start with tight end because if for some reason you just knew that, I'm just going to.
What if I nailed it? What if you said Montana and I said Will Dissly? It's Seattle.
Hold on. I need a few more minutes now. All right. Again, no particular order. It's not like wide receiver 1, running back 1. It's just this is their start.
How many of each are you doing?
I mean, I have 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. But again, feel free to chime in whenever you feel like it. Okay. All right. Wide receiver. Cincinnati. Running back, NC State. Wide receiver, Ohio State.
That's the Colts. That's Alec Pierce of Cincinnati. NC State's Naheem Hines.
Yep.
And then Ohio State's obviously Pittman. Running back, Wisconsin.
Pittman is USC, my man.
What?
Michael Pittman is USC.
USC? No, he's
Ohio
not.
State is
Ohio State's what's his name? Oh my gosh.
Hold on. I'm blanking on it already too, and I just did this.
I know.
Ohio State is do you want it? It's Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell, yeah. I thought Pittman was Ohio State too.
Nope. He was USC. And so I was gonna say tight end, VCU.
Oh, is that Mo Alley?
That is Mo Alley Cox.
Wow. But how about Jelani, whatever his name is, the new tight end they got? So Micah Pittman, I saw him this weekend playing against the Deeks. That's Pittman's little bro.
Is it? Okay.
He's at Florida State. Yeah.
So well done, my man. You got the Colts. Obviously, the last running back I left off the board, or it was going to be last, was Wisconsin. So
yep, JT.
All right.
You could have used Duke for Deion Jackson or whoever his name is. This other backup running back they have.
Other guy. All right. Well, there you go. All right. So now got through some on campus. Let's go to the do it bet board.
This is not great for me.
Right.
I guess it's kind of a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. All right, let's pull it up. So as we mentioned, Jared Goff went off.
Goff went off.
He had 42.2 points. So unfortunately, Trevor was okay. It wasn't great, but 9.6 for
under 10 points is not okay. That's terrible. That's Matt Ryan territory.
I guess we're talking in the actual game, but yes, fantasy-wise, not great.
Yeah.
So that gave Jared a big boost. So he's up 113.8 to 80.7. So that's a nice little cushion right there. All right, running backs. Whew. Josh Jacobs, as we just talked about, went off, was running all over the place, got 35.5 points. And A.J. Dillon, man, just kind of been disappearing after week 1. Only got 9.4 points. Had a lot of carries for yards, but no receptions, no touchdowns. So that's hurting him.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's going to do it.
A little more touchdown dependent.
That's going to do it for the Do It Bet board.
Yeah. Oh, really? No, hang on. I think I saw somebody else up there.
Yeah.
Who's that little guy in the yellow and blue?
I don't know. I think it's the water boy.
I don't think he plays.
So T. Higgins had a great week, 26.4 points, his best production of the year. Allen Robinson, got 2.7 points. And
not his worst production of the year.
Not his worst. And he's down 64.5 to 24.5. So just within striking distance.
Woof. Okay.
So
well, these are all kind of runaways in different directions, but there's still a lot of season
week,
left.
Though. I mean, because prior to this week, the quarterbacks and the running backs were right there. And all it takes is just 1 week. So we'll see.
That's true.
It's not over. Can go in any direction. Not over.
Okay. How about our weekly Do It Bet?
Yes. So that was an interesting one. We decided to draft 2 quarterbacks each, and we were drafting it on the basis of who was going to have more interceptions combined. So Kemper had Carson Wentz and Russell Wilson. And Zach Wilson, wrong Wilson. And I had Davis Mills and Justin Fields, who once again I thought this was a big time matchups. I thought it was going to look pretty good.
This is going to be good.
So Kemper got 2 from both of his W's, and I got 2 from Davis Mills, but 0 from Fields. The one time I count on him to do something crappy, he can't even do that for me. So
he did get sacked 6 times. So
he did get sacked. So Kemper wins this weekly Do It Bet. Congrats on that.
I think that puts us at 2-2 on the weekly bets.
I believe it does. Congrats on the interceptions. And then what do you think? Should we do a little quick update on our Yahoo League?
Ugh.
I mean, I know neither of us really want to, but I feel like we
Wolf
should.
City, but we owe it to the people to be accountable.
Yes, we do. So I was in a toilet bowl matchup as I was facing the two winless teams. Myself and Drader were the 11th and 12th place teams playing against each other, and boy, did it live up to the hype.
It sure did.
Our teams were basically defined by 2 or 3 players each, because basically on his team, Bateman didn't show up, Jonathan Taylor didn't show up, Noah Brown. So his player, it basically came down to Justin Herbert, T. Higgins, and TJ Hawkinson versus Jared Goff, Damian Pierce, and Saquon. So like those were our 3 horses. And then what was crazy is going into Monday night's game, I was down by 2.5 points. Okay. And it was funny, as the late games were happening on Sunday, the late afternoon games, I was still ahead by a tiny bit. And I knew I had Allen Robinson playing on Monday night. I was like, you know what? I would just feel comfortable if his point total stopped just before mine, before even the Monday night games. Like, because I have zero faith. I was like, I just want to be good. But no, once Sunday's games finished, he was up by 2.5 points, which is by no means a lot.
I think it was like 2.2 or 2.3 exactly.
Yeah, under 2.5. And so I was like, all right, well, I mean, I still got Allen Robinson. All he needs is 1 catch for 20 yards or 2 catches for 10 yards, whatever. First half, shutout. 0 catches, 1 target. Like, okay, great. So then, like midway through the third quarter,
1 catch, 2 yards.
2 yards. Like, he needs 1 more catch. So finally, it was basically garbage time with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Got 1 more catch for 5 yards.
For 5 more yards
to give me a 0.42 point victory over Trader. So
unbelievable how bad he was. They call that the hammer. The Monday night, having a player on Monday night that's going to come through for you. That is the crappiest hammer imaginable.
Yeah, tell me about it. So,
I needed Russell Wilson to do just 1 more thing for me on that afternoon game, and he didn't do it. I had very middling performances from nearly everybody. I did get 18 from Corey Davis. I got 18 from Brandon Cooks, which is good. Russell got me 31, so he looked good, but I got Jamal Williams. I got CD Lamb. Ended up losing by 5 in a low-scoring affair.
And I mean, you got fortunate. It was a bad Stephon Diggs game. You had a bad Lamar Jackson game. I mean, that's tough too. Like, those guys finally suck. You're thinking, all right, I have a chance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was going up against those guys. I was like, I have a chance here. I was duct taping this team together right now.
Yes.
I had Kamara, Amon-Ra. I left Godwin on the bench. Michael Gallup, I left on the bench because I wanted to see it. Brian Robinson's on IR. Like, my team will look so incredibly different in 2 weeks than it does right now.
Yes. So yes, we are both struggling. We both have 1 win on the season. So in the standings, I am in 9th and you are in 10th. So
hey-o.
Plenty of season to go.
12-team league, just FYI. There are 2 teams worse than us, if you can believe it. And one of them is my brother.
What's crazy is I have the 2nd most points scored against me, and you have the 3rd. So there's that.
There you go. So tough matchups for us, but we also haven't been performing. So I don't care how many points are scored against me as long as I'm scoring points, and I'm not scoring points. I'm not putting points on the board. My average is so atrocious right now. But I knew some of that was going to happen because I drafted Godwin, and I knew I was going to wait 3 or 4 weeks for him, and I drafted Gallup, and I knew I was going to wait a couple weeks for him. So again, when my team gets healthy, I will feel a lot better about it. But
I also
need to be able to perform.
Chase has just been a no-show for me, so I've benched him. When DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I'm going to feel a lot better just because I can put him into a flex and all that and maybe move on from somebody I won't name yet. But our teams have work to do, but we got a lot of time to do it.
Yep. I got all green matchups this week too, so I'm excited about that. Let's go. Doctor.
So a lot of recaps in week 4, a lot of action, a lot of scores, some interesting fantasy scoring updates and injuries and all that. So lots to cover.
In Jell-O. One game of Flonkerton.
1 game of Flonkerton. And I took the blue pill by accident, so I hope it was edible.
Dwigged.
So man, looking forward to week 5 preview coming up next episode. We're doing our Pigskin Pick'em picks. Pigskin Pick'em picks. Wow, that's a lot of P's. Anyway, until next time. Keep on folding.
Fold it.